Today's scripture reading comes from the book of Isaiah, chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. A shoot shall come out from the stock of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. His delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge by what his eyes see, or decide by what his ears hear, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. He shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. Righteousness shall be the belt around his waist, and faithfulness the belt around his loins. The wolf shall live with the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the kid. The calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze. Their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the adder's den. They will not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. When we peruse the headlines, there is little evidence to predict that a better day hovers just beyond the horizon. The litany of woes pounds like a never-ending drumbeat. Poverty, discrimination, drug addiction, crime, sexual abuse, terrorism, environmental disasters, war. And not only are we faced with these persistent evils that haunt humanity, our culture seems to be currently sojourning in a moral desert with such brazen lying, shameless arrogance, unabashed greed, merciless indifference, unrestrained anger, spiteful revenge, and unblushing selfishness. It seems as if we are stumbling our way through an ethical wasteland and not too far from a world where anything goes. The church is vital to civilization because it is where we can discover the source of genuine hope. Christians do not believe in a hostile and meaningless universe. We believe there is a creator who not only generates life, but cares about life. Followers of Jesus cling to hope in the face of the current quagmire because we believe there's nothing in all creation that can separate us from God. And God has a purpose for our lives. If there is no God, there is no hope. No hope for a world that can be more compassionate and just and peace-loving. Evil wins the day. Game, set, match. However, if we believe in a God who cares and who is tirelessly working to spread light in darkness, then there is not only a reason to live, but an incentive to partner with God in ushering forth a better world. Crazy as it sounds, and swimming against the tide of evidence, people of faith believe a better day is not only possible, but that one day it will become a reality. The Christian faith does not offer an escape from the atrocities of the world. Instead, faith is where we garner strength, and the church is where we discover support to face whatever suffering we encounter. Our faith ignores neither the pain nor the injustices that are so prevalent, but rather arouses genuine hope that God is guiding the world to a better future. One way that the candle of hope can surely be snuffed out is if we adopt a fatalistic mindset. Believing that it will always be this way and nothing can alter the course of history is a prescription for despair. Fatalism suffocates hope. However, Jesus and the prophets remind us that God has better intentions for the world. Our text from Isaiah this morning is one of those compelling visions we find in Scripture that inspires hope. Borrowing an example from nature, Isaiah begins with a metaphor. A shoot shall come out of the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall come out of its roots. Where once a mighty tree stood, now there's only a stump. The tree may have decayed, it may have been blown over in a fierce storm, it may have been cut down, but now all we have is a seemingly dead stump. But wait, out of this stump, there's a shoot. New life is growing out of what was dead. He names the stump Jesse because Jesse was the father of David, who was hailed as the greatest king of the people of Israel. By Isaiah's time, 250 years after David, the people had seen this endless stream of unscrupulous and incompetent rulers who had severely weakened the nation. But now Isaiah envisions a new ruler, a ruler that will be even greater than the legendary David. Isaiah declares, the Spirit of the Lord shall rest on him. The Spirit of wisdom, the Spirit of understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. And of course, Christians see this as pointing to Jesus. Then Isaiah unleashes the dream of God, a vision that can only be captured in poetry, and madcap poetry at that. Isaiah uses wild and exorbitant images to picture a world where not only humans, but all creatures abide in peace. The wolf shall live with the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the kid. The calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together. And the lion will eat straw like an ox. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put its hand on the adder's den. They will not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Who we are today is not only a product of our DNA and our past experiences. We are also shaped by our vision of the future. Who we can become the kind of world we can help create. If our vision of the future is just more of the same, then we'll contribute to making it that way. However, if our vision of the world is something greater, then we have the power to nudge the world in that direction. Mark Twain said, "You cannot depend on your eyes when your imagination is out of focus." People of hope live not only by what we think our eyes see, but also by the better world that we can imagine. A world where soup kitchens box up all their pots and pans because there's nobody left to eat. Everyone's fed. Where unemployment offices become a distant memory because everyone has a job and has a wage that is enough. Where people feel safe to share different viewpoints because disagreements are arbitrated without resorting to violence. Where every child grows up in a loving home and thrives in classrooms that provide a quality education. Where people of every race and faith and religion become neighbors and every Friday night join together as a feast around a table. When generous hearts overcome greedy desires and nations no longer need tools of war because everyone is committed to peace. Author Parker Palmer says, "When privileged people like me choose hopelessness rather than hope, it's not a reflection of the state of the world, it's a reflection of the state of our souls." When faith grows thin, cynicism and despair find a pathway into our hearts. We grumble about the way life is, and we lose sight of God's dreams for the world. But when we tend to our spiritual lives, love and joy take root, and hope becomes a driving force. The church is vital to the future of our world because it stubbornly insists that a better world is coming. And God calls us to be partners in creating that world. Poet and preacher Victoria Safford writes, "Our mission is to plant ourselves at the gates of hope. Not the prudent gates of optimism, which are somewhat narrower, nor the stalwart, boring gates of common sense, nor the strident gates of self-righteousness, which creak on shrill and angry hinges, nor the cheerful, flimsy gate of everything's going to be just fine. Our mission is to plant ourselves at a very different place, sometimes a lonely place, the place of resistance and defiance, the piece of ground from which you see the world both as it is and as it could be, as it might be, as it will be. And we stand there, beckoning and calling other people, telling them what we see." Another way that hope is kindled is when God's Spirit stirs in our souls and the thought arises to our consciousness, it does not have to be this way. It does not have to be this way because life is always susceptible to change, but also it does not have to be this way because God empowers us to get up and do something about it. The church is to be the leaven in the loaf that is society. We're to be the force of light that spreads compassion, advances justice, promotes peace. People of faith can do this. because we know we're on the right side, the side of what is good and right and true. And because we're not alone in this project of improving life for all. At the end of one of his books about the history of human civilization, Thomas Cahill turns toward the future with an honest and clear eye, writing, "As we look across our earth, we see many signs of despair. Poverty, hunger, a population explosion of enormous proportions that Westerners insist on ignoring." But then he begins to sound like a biblical prophet when he observes, "But we also see signs of hope. The future may be germinating today, not in a boardroom in London, not in an office in Washington, not in a bank in Tokyo, but in some small outpost, a warm-hearted orphanage in the grim foothills of Peru, on the back streets of Calcutta, where nuns are helping take care of people who are dying, an easygoing French medical team who's at the starving edge of the Sahara, a mission to Somalia by Irish social workers who remember their own great hunger, a nursery program to assist convicted mothers in a New York prison. The future may be germinating in an unheralded corner where a compassionate human being is doing extraordinary things for others, loving outcasts. 50 days after the resurrection of Jesus, on the day of Pentecost, a wind blew through the lives of the first followers of Jesus. And they remembered words of the prophet Joel, who said that God's Spirit would be poured out. "Your sons and daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions." In the church, we do not accept the state of affairs in this world today as a given. We glimpse visions of the world as God intends for it to be. Those visions infuse us with hope. Hope for a better day and the determination to partner with God in making it a reality.